when you're only 10 years old, you make your professional appearance dancing a solo as a miniature Salome to this music in Dick Whittington at the Old Kennington Theatre. Also in the pantomime was another little girl destined to grow up into one of the brightest stars of musical comedy. Do you remember her name?
Oh, my understudy?
No. I bet you remember when I tell you, Jessie Matthews.
Oh, yes, of course.
I wonder, in fact, if any of the people in the audience at that time realized what future stars they had at Kennington that Christmas. And here, talking to you from her new home in Melbourne, is Jessie Matthews.
Hello, Alicia. Do you remember when we were that age? Dick Whittington pantomime? Do you remember the dressing room we all shared? All those noisy, lovely kids. All eating oranges and arguing. I remember watching you sitting in the corner, looking like a tiny doll. You know, you were much too shy. You never said a word. I always used to stand in the wings and watch you dance. I saw you again some years later, after you had done Giselle. You know, we chatted for half an hour in your dressing room. You know, darling, I'm quite sure you never heard a word I said. You said, oh, yes, darling, oh, yes, yes, I know, I remember. And as I left, you still had that vacant stare in your eyes. It's been a very great privilege to know you, Alicia, and I add my tribute to you this evening, most sincerely, with my love. And God bless you.
Thank you, Jessie Matthews. Thank you.
Throughout your career, Sandy, your act has always been one good, clean family fun, and that's always endeared you to a former member of a very famous family. She, too, appeared on that Royal Variety performance in 1935. Then she was a young ballerina. Later, she became one of Britain's greatest musical comedy stars and radio's Mrs. Dale, recently awarded the OBE, Jessie Matthews. Jessie, you've always admired Sandy for keeping his act clean, have you?
I certainly have. You know, Sandy has never resorted to smutty humour, and that's something really to be admired in a comic.
Well, especially in view of the fact that censorship in those days was a little keener than it is now.
Yes, it certainly was. You know, during it was
the Royal Variety.
the Royal show. Do you remember the awful fuss they made out of my doing an arabesque?
Why were they making a fuss over you doing an arabesque, Jessie?
Well, they wanted me to do it on the other leg, and I refused to do it. And the reason being was that they thought I might bring a few blushes to the royal box because I would show my knickers.
Thank you, Jessie Matthews. Thank you. Shortly afterwards, World War II breaks out, and you spend much of your time entertaining troops all over the world with
What is your influence on classical ballet? You've also very much influenced popular entertainment, and more than 50 years ago, you first brought ballet to review at London's Prince of Wales Theatre. It was in 1926. You partner a very pretty young dancer, and your dance ends with the two of you on a seesaw. Now, every evening, unknown to the audience, you would whisper a question to that young partner.
You remember, Anton, the question you always asked me was, do you love me?
That girl became one of Britain's greatest musical comedy stars, your great friend, Jessie Matthews.
Lovely too. I think we're going to maybe tomorrow. I said yes.
And Jessie, the answer Anton expected?
Well, if I didn't say yes, at the end of the seesaw dance, I had to turn with my back and slide down the seesaw into Anton's arms. And if I didn't say yes, as I turned, he would bump the seesaw and Jessie would end up hanging upside down like a monkey. But what made it so difficult, there was my newly married husband just standing behind Anton. So if I didn't dare say yes at times, did I?
No, but you often did.
Thank you, Jessie Matthews. And married you were at Hampstead Register Office on the 10th of February 1962. And next you're invited to join the BBC Radio Repertory Company, and you're so impressed with your technique and experience you're asked to do a job that will be another surprise to a lot of people who don't know about your varied talents, to produce one of radio's most popular programs.
Andrew, remember the Dales?
The lady who played Mrs. Dale, one of Britain's legendary musical comedy stars, who else but Jessie Matthews. Jessie, before he became the producer of the Dales, you got to know Andrew quite well.
Yes, I got to know, well, several kinds of Andrews, 6 at least.
How do you mean, 6?
Well, he was so wonderful at characterizations and all these wonderful voices that whenever he appeared with me on the Dales, I never knew what sort of little man to expect. He was
Always a little man.
Yes, but such a gentle, lovely little man. And I've watched you play such wonderful parts and been so thrilled at all your performances. And your lovely Manuel is really so exciting to watch. It really is. It's gorgeous, darling.
Thank you, Jessie Matthews. Well, Janet, one of those impersonations that Ellen clapped and clapped was surely your personal favorite, an international singing star who today is still one of the most loved names in entertainment.
Over my shoulder goes one care, over my shoulder goes 2 cares. Why should I cry? It's blue above. I'm free at last and I'm in love.
Believe it or not, you've never met until this very moment the star who inspired you when you took your own first steps to stardom, Jessie Matthews.
Janet Brown, may I please say thank you for letting me be part of your wonderful evening. I have seen so many of your wonderful impersonations of artists and personalities, but what has amazed me most of all, and I think it will have amazed everybody who have seen you, your wonderful nature shines through them all.
Well, I love it.
Janet Brown, this is your life.